All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How everybody doing this morning? I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Hope you guys are having an amazing morning. Welcome to another great money talk. And like I promised today, we're going to be talking about retirement planning and the importance of understanding about retirement planning. And many of us, we need to learn the difference between these things because as we plan for our future and we go on to do great things, we want to retire. And retirement is important. It's a great topic, right? So one of the things I want to let you guys know before I get started, let's give you guys some little house rules. We did change up a little bit of things. So if we're going through a session, right, and I just want to give you guys some ground rules. If you're going through a session, you can always type your question in the chat room, all right? If you had a question, something was like, you had a question as I was talking, like, man, I want to ask him this question. Just go right in the chat room, write your question, and at the end, I'll answer your questions, right? That makes it much easier, right? So that way, if you have questions, write it in the chat room, all right? Write it in the chat room, and once you write your question, I will answer it at the end, and that way I can give you some more clarity as I'm talking, so that way now you don't have to wait to the end to ask your question. You can type your questions in the chat room, so that way we could get to your question at the end. And if you have any feedbacks, you can also put it in there as well. All right. So that way we get to it at the end. Now, let's get right into it. Right. Welcome to Money Talk with Mr. Finance. And today we're going to talk about retirement plans, right? And the importance of understanding retirement plans because we got to know what it really means. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, hey, did you know there's two types of retirement plans? Did you know that? There's two types, right? It's either it's a defined benefit plan or it's a defined contribution plan, right? That's it. So when you think about retirement plans, think about these two things. It's either you have a defined benefit or you have a defined contribution, right? That's what you got to look for. Which one do I have? Do I have a defined benefit or do I have a defined contribution? And which one is good, right? That's what really comes down to. Which one is better than which? Which one is great? Which one isn't great? Which one is full of it? Which one isn't it? Right? You got to know the difference between the two. So one of the things I want to do is I want to break down first defined benefit plan, right? What is a defined benefit plan? It's also known as a traditional pension. Okay, when you hear defined benefit, think of the word defined benefit, right? What does that mean? It's a definite benefit for you waiting, right? You know exactly what it's going to be. Definite, defined benefit. You know what is the definite benefit at the end of this thing. It's called a pension. So if you didn't know what a pension is, now a pension is pretty much a vehicle where the employer contribute into a plan, but based upon the amount of years and what was your salary level, right? How much time and whatever salary level you're at will determine what will be your benefits, right, at the end. Now, did you also know that the pension also, if something was to happen to you, continue paying your spouse, right, or loved ones, even after that too, right? Because that's your money. So you got to understand that a pension pays you until you die. All right. You'll get money until you die. Right. That's the thing. But here's the sad news. The sad news is that, many companies now have dramatically, got rid of their pension program. And it's because of one thing. I like to personally think it's because we're living longer. So think about it. If a company got to pay you until they die and you live to like age 101, you retired at 50 years old or 55 or 65, and you live to age 100. Imagine they have 3,000 people that's living for the next 40 years, right? That's a lot of money for a company to pay out. So when that happened, the first company that looked into something else, it was a bank in Pennsylvania called Johnson. And they looked into and they reached out to a consultant. His name was Ted Benner. And this happened in 1978 when Ted Benner discovered the tax code 400. And it was a deferred plan. And it's called defined contribution plan. Now, this is what 10% of the population have as far as retirement, right? Many of you guys have this as your retirement plan. It's called a defined contribution plan. Now, many of you call it a retirement plan. I like to call it what it is. It's called a tax code. It's an IRS tax code that was discovered by Ted Bennett in 1978. And the first ever group of 401k ever came out was with 52 participants. And this happened in 19, if I remember correctly, 1982. All right. So 1978, 1982 was the first ever pension program was introduced to the world with 52 participants in a bank in Pennsylvania called Johnson, right? The gentleman that created this program that you now call your retirement plan, his name is Ted Bennett, all right? T-E-D-B-E-N-N-A, Ted Bennett. Now, what is a defined contribution? It's an IRS tax code, like a 401, 403, 457s, right? These plans are called defined benefit because the simple fact that you know exactly what you put in. Think about the word, defined contribution, contribution. You know exactly what you put in your 401k. You know how much you contribute to your 401k. You know exactly the amount of money that came out of your paycheck to go in there. The thing that you can never predict is what you were going to get because your money is due on it's based on the market's performance, right? You know exactly what you call it. That's why it's called defined contribution plan, right? You see the difference between defined contribution and defined benefit plan is the fact that with defined benefit, you know what you're going to get based on your years that you work, based on your salary level. But defined contribution, you know exactly what you put in, but you don't know what you're going to get, right? Because it's based upon the market's performance. So that's why defined contribution, you know, many of you say, oh, my employer give me this plan. No, your employer did not give you this plan. Your employer was a sponsor of this plan. They sponsor you the plan, right? What I mean by this? What I mean by this is the fact that when I said that an employer sponsor you the plan is because they have another person administrator the plan. It could be a mutual fund company, it could be a brokerage firm or an insurance company, okay? You got to realize that your job, HR, is not your financial department. Most of the time, your HR is just as clueless as you are when it comes to your finances, right? And you can't be sitting there trying to get advice from them if they themselves don't even know what the hell they're doing, right? So we got to really put ourselves in a position to really, truly understand these vehicles. So one of the things you want to know also when it comes to your defined contribution plan is that you, all right, you are responsible. You are responsible for the investment of your money by choosing the investment options in your plan. So that means that you must be understanding about these financial lingo and these jargons for you to make these decisions. And if you don't understand these lingos, these jargons, then you will lose some money. And you better make the right choice, because if you don't make the right choice, then what happens to your money? You lose money. So imagine the fact that you are responsible for choosing the investment choices for your plan and you have no financial understanding. How is that so? That don't make no sense, right? So that's why when people say, oh, I got a 401k, or you got a 403b, or you got a 457, all you're telling me is where you work. It doesn't mean nothing to me. To any financial professional or any financial advisor, anybody that understands finance, when you tell them that you have your 401k, all you do is tell them where you work or what kind of job or what kind of career you're in. When you tell me you have a 403b, all you tell me is what kind of career. 457, all you do is tell me. Because when you have a 401k, I know you have a traditional job. I know you have a traditional job. You don't got to tell me. I know. All right? When you have a 403b, all you do is tell me where you work. You probably work in a school district or a nurse. Right? When you have a 457, all you tell me is that you work for the state. Yeah, you see, that's how easy it is. So defined contribution plans, like I said, you know, you invest with pre-tax money. That's another thing. It's a pre-tax. Remember when we talk about pre-tax, if you understand taxes, you would know where you're putting your money. So when you talk about pre-tax, that money is tax deferred. Tax deferred money is pre-tax money. Pre-tax means that you haven't paid any taxes yet on the money, but you will be paying taxes on every withdrawal out of these money, right? That's why you got to understand taxes. You got to know that the rule of 50 to 59.5 and 72 RMD rules apply with that money as well. So that's why they said defined benefit plans, You know, they call them defined benefit because you know exactly what you put in, but you won't know what you may get when you retire due to the market fluctuation. You see, one of the things that you got to understand that there's so many people that are passive, right? They are such passive employees. Although 401ks and defined contribution plans, these are very, popular plans, and many people still don't understand them. And this is a major problem, right? Did you know that many employers are passive participants? They contribute to their plan because people around them do so. If you get involved enough and take time to actually understand and monitor their plan. According to the recent AARP survey, did you know that 71% of people with a 401k didn't know they were paying fees for their retirement plans? Right? Did you know that? Did you know that these fees can reduce your 401k balance by up to 30%? Right? And that's a small number. What about the fact that on top of that, without understanding the different investments, options of the plan, they may pick one that doesn't work for their risk tolerance. That's another thing. Do you know your risk tolerance? What are your objectives when you're putting together these plans? Do you know if you're an aggressive, conservative, a moderate growth? Yes, you are in this plan, but do you understand your risk tolerance? When the last time you check your risk tolerance on your plan, right? You see, that's why many of us, many of you guys may end up with poor results, right? You have a 401k, but by the time you get it, guess what you have? You have a 201k. By the time you receive your investment plan, you have a 201k, right? And then when you want to retire your 201k, right? You got to pay fees on that 201k. How is that even possible? How is that possible? How are we doing this and not putting ourselves in a winning position? Right? It's because we don't understand. We don't get to learn about finance. We don't get to learn about investments, right? But look at another thing. Another thing that many people are so interested in is that people talk about, I got an IRA account. I don't have a 401k. I don't have a 403b. I don't have a 457. I had a IRA. Really? And you think that was good? You thought you made it now, did you? See, many of us live this lifestyle that we think we make it because we think we have things we still don't understand. Now, let me break it down for you. What is an IRA? You ask many people today, what does an IRA mean? They're like, it's an IRA. It's an investment. No. What does it mean? Do you know what IRA stands for? Right? Listen to me now. An IRA is an individual retirement account. Say it with me. It's an individual retirement account, okay? So if you look at an IRA, it's most common form of a retirement plan. Okay, it's a very common plan. See, now let's talk about the traditional IRAs. There's two major benefits. This is what they say. I'm doing my bunny ears right now, right? Benefits. Two major benefits of an IRA is that you do not pay tax on the money you contribute until you make withdrawals. Do you hear what they said a while ago? One of the benefits are you don't pay taxes on the money until you withdraw it. So what does this mean? This means that later on, when you're older, you're not working, you're ready to retire, every time you get money from your IRAs or your 401ks, even your 457s and 403bs, even your pension plans, every time you take money from this, you will be subject to paying taxes. Okay? It says here the number two benefit is any interest, dividends, and capital gains in the plan are tax deferred until withdrawal. Means that every time you contribute to the plan, every time you're putting in money in the plan, every time you gain money in the plan, you don't pay any taxes until you start taking from the plan. Ooh, you may say, man, I don't get to pay no taxes when I put it in. Yay! And then Uncle Sam come knocking when you retire. Hey, don't celebrate too quickly. I need my cut. And as a matter of fact, I need it every month, every withdrawal. And if you don't take it by 59.5, or you don't take it by 70.5 or 72, I'm taking 50%. If you take it before 59.5, I need you're gonna get a 10% penalty in addition to paying me some taxes as well. That's how the IRS come in. They come in like the sheriff, right? They come in, it's called a shakedown. They're going to shake you down. All right. Now, it's legal. You signed up for it. So it's a legal shakedown. All right. So here's the thing. That many people say, well, Keon, I got a Roth IRA. These are the prestige folks now because they think they're in the 5% bracket because they're in a tax advantage bracket now, right? They're in a tax advantage bracket. Hey, Keon, I got me a Roth IRA. I got it all figured out. Really? Really? These are for you prestige folks. Let me break it down what a Roth IRA is, right? A Roth IRA is similar to a traditional IRA. Did you know that? However, the big difference between is the contributions are not tax deductible and the qualified distributions are tax-free, provided that you meet two guidelines. Now, listen to me now. The only difference between you and Mr. IRA, the traditional IRA, is the fact that, yes, the money that you put in the very beginning, you pay tax on the money that you're putting in, right? So then later on, when it grows, you don't have to worry about paying any taxes on that, all right? So you pay your taxes today, okay? But the thing is this, yes, you are still have to deal with the market fluctuations like both plans do. Okay. Now, here's the thing. They say you got to meet two guidelines even with your Roth IRA. Number one, you have to leave the money in the account for at least 5 years after you make the first contribution. All right. So you cannot touch that money for the first 5 years. So even if you started a Roth IRA at the age of 59 years old, right, and you wanted to take the money out right away, you have to wait. You have to wait for 5 years or you will get penalized. Remember that. Number two, you have to reach 59 and a half with the exceptions for death or disability. With a Roth IRA, you can leave the money in your account for as long as you want. That is absolutely true because there's no RMD. All right. That's another great thing. But here's the thing that you got to understand. The traditional IRA don't allow you that extension. You must start withdrawing it when you reach 72 because that's the your RMD, right? Your required minimum distribution has to be taken out. So here's some key points you got to remember. Okay, you got to remember this about the traditional IRA. Is the fact that you don't pay tax on the money you put in, but you're going to pay taxes when you take out the money. Okay, that's the traditional IRA for you to remember. The Roth IRA, key points to remember is the fact that you pay tax on the money when you put it in, but you don't pay tax when you take it out, assuming you meet the criteria that is talked about above where, hey, remember we talk about let that money be there for 5 years, it got to be 59 and a half. Now, one of the things you got to understand is that, yes, the IRA and a Roth IRA have limits on how much you can actually contribute each year, and you may face penalties if you withdraw before the designated retirement age, which is 59 and a half. All right. So you got to keep that in mind as well. And always remember that. All right. So one of the things that I want to talk about also is that many of us don't learn about things like a rollover, right? And, you know, many of you may have your 401k. Here's what you don't want to do. Let me give you a little pointers, right? This is the point where you get your pen out, you write down these pointers. If you have a 401k, you have a 403b, you have an IRA, you have whatever, right? I want to give you some pointers now. Now, when you get older, right, or you get mature, I like to say, let's not use the word older. Let's say that, hey, you got seasoned, okay? You got seasoned. I like to say you get seasoned. And I hope when you get seasoned over time and marinated, you know, you cook better, all right? So let's say that you got seasoned, okay, over time. And over time, you learned about financial literacy. And because you learned about financial literacy, guess what? You now understand some more. And this understanding some more, it starts touching on some more things. So here's the thing. Your 401ks, your 403bs, when you retire, please do not leave it at your job. When you leave your job, please do not leave it at your old job. And here's a common mistake that we always make. OMG. Many of you will have your old 401ks, your old IRAs, your old whatever. And then you take that old one and you roll it over into your new job. It's like your money finally got free and then you put it back in jail again. OMG. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? So what do you do when you have your old 401ks? What do you do when you have your old IRAs? Please, it's a word. I want you to learn it. It's called rollover. Not roll it up now. That's a different type of thing. I'm talking about a rollover, okay? A rollover. You got to do a rollover. It's called an IRA rollover. Listen to this. It says IRA rollovers are an important feature to move your money to a better investment account of your choice. Your choice. Not the job choice, not the HR choice, your choice. You. You. Say I. I, you. I, you. Okay? It says, unfortunately, there are many people that, you know, who do not use it for its full potential. And not only can you roll over an IRA into another, you can even roll over your 401ks, 403bs, and like into an IRA, a Roth IRA, even a fixed index annuity. Did you know that? See, yesterday we talked about annuity, right? And the fact that with an annuity, there's no limits to how much you can contribute into your annuity, right? Think about that, right? So here's the thing. I'm going to give you two more, right? We got 3 more minutes. We got 2 more. For all my business owners, right? Business owners. Now, many of you may say, well, Keon, well, what must I do if I'm a business owner and I want to get some advantages? Me personally, if you understand your taxes, you know where to put your money. Right? You got to know what's your tax tolerance and you got to know what's your risk tolerance. I'm telling you guys, please, stop asking people where to put your money. Just learn your tax tolerance and your risk tolerance. Once you have a clue about how each vehicle will be taxed and you understand what is your risk tolerance, you will know where to put your own money. You will know where to put your own money. I kid you not. So business owners, a simple IRA is very simple, right? It stands for Saving Incentive Match Plan for Employees. All right, simple. It's a type of traditional IRA for small businesses and self-employed people. You see, contributions are tax deductible. Investments have the potential to grow tax deferred until withdrawal. And employers, okay, employers are required to match contribution with the employees up to 3% of salary or 2% flat of pay, whether the employee contribute or not. All right. So many of you at your job, you probably have a simple IRA and you probably even know that your job set it up for where he could get some tax incentives from that. Now, what about a SEP IRA, right? A SEP, S-E-P. SEP IRA stands for the Simplified Employee Pension. Okay, it's like a simpler version of the simple IRA. So here's a little thing. It says here it's a retirement plan set up by the employer, including the self-employed person. The employer make tax deductible contribution for the employee, including the business owner. It says employees you can't contribute. Not like your simple IRA, you can contribute over there, but your SEP IRAs, you cannot contribute. Only the employer can. And employees pretty much don't pay tax until withdrawal. So it's almost like a pension. Okay? Is it making sense to you guys now? I hope it's clicking for you. All right, let's look at it like this. Your simple IRA is almost set up like your 401ks. Okay? And your SEP IRA is set up like your defined benefit plan. Right? But it's different. Just to give you an idea so you can get a thinking on it. So your employees, another thing you got to understand, right? The employer, like I said, employees can't contribute and only the employers can, and employees don't pay tax until they withdraw. All right. So it's just like an IRA plans, right? 59 and a half and 72 rules apply, right? And withdrawals before 59 receive a penalty with a certain exception, such as for medical or educational expenses or first-time home purchases, okay? So both simple and SEP IRAs are simple and low cost to set up for you guys to understand a little bit more about that. That's why it's important for you to know your risk tolerance, your tax tolerance, so that way you can make a decision that puts you and your family in a better position. So one of the things I want to leave you with is that, hey, do not be an emotional investor, okay? Do not be an emotional investor. And I want you to understand that God creates the economists to make weather forecasts look good, okay? And I don't want you guys to be that person. Don't make an emotional decisions. Don't buy high and sell low. Key words. Don't buy high and sell low. Buy low, sell high. Always remember that, okay? So, yeah, thank you guys for always tuning in. And just so you know, what's coming up, as you know, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 10 a.m., 12 p.m., and 6 p.m. Eastern time, we have the 4 Steps to Financial Freedom, which will welcome everybody to always come and learn more. So that way you guys can get better understanding. And another thing we have coming up, we have a women conference online event. You know, you can go register at womenconferenceonline.com and come learn. You know, we have a lot of good speakers. I'm bringing two of my educators with us to come and teach some more. All right, and this is a conference. It's going to speak a lot about a lot of good things. As you can see, the topics it's covering. You know, Marsha Webb will be talking about taxes. As you know, myself, I'll be talking about the simple steps to, building your wealth. And I'm going to be sharing stuff on there that I never shared before. Also, we're Valerie, I'm still going to talk about the 3 major concerns our families are facing and what to do, right? And I have Chantal Meggie will be talking about the 3 ways to keep your money in your pocket, right? In a simplified way. So these are some good stuff that's coming up. And mark your calendar too for Extension Expo, guys. October 18th through 19th. It's another event that I'll be doing. You can go to extensionexpo.com to definitely get your ticket and learn more. All right. So if you had any questions and you put them in the chat room, you can do so right now, or you can raise your hand if you have any questions or comment, and then we'll definitely get there. Remember to always like, subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes. And definitely appreciate you guys for always supporting and coming to learn. All right. So anybody have any feedbacks, any comments, you could share at this moment. And definitely remember that you can always comment below as well. Any questions?